Brilliant! I don't believe it! I swear I do not believe it! And they are back on terms!
Good evening. Welcome to New York Talk. The weather's getting cold and horrible, but the football season is getting into full gear as everything's heating up in football. So we have got a 3-1 victory at home to Cambridge United to talk about, plenty to cover from that game. And then we have Ipswich Town on Tuesday night, which pre-season, we would assume is a proper promotion clash. Maybe not the case from Ipswich side point of view. But we'll come on to that later on. We will be joined by Ipswich fan, as normal, for the scout report to cover Ipswich Town later on. We have the usual suspects with us. Michael and Danny are joining us. Thank you, boys.
Hello.
Hello, everybody.
The first thing we're going to cover tonight is not a pleasant subject. As after the game yesterday, there was reports that a Rotherham fan racially abused a Cambridge fan. We wanted to just sort of mention this, that obviously racism has no room in the game. The club have released a statement saying it's been investigated. I hope that the individual is identified and banned for as long as they can possibly ban them. We're lucky as a club. We've never been associated with things like this in the past as a club. So, yeah, hopefully this never happens again at our grounds, and hopefully the individual, whoever it is not seen at a Rotherham game ever again. Do you two want to add anything on top of that?
Not for me. I think you're absolutely right. There's no room for it anywhere, whether it be in football or anywhere else. So, yeah.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I've heard whispers that the guy has been identified as and making the obscene gestures towards them. But there were a number of fans giving it to the Cambridge fans, which is what you do at football. It's part and parcel of the vibe from it, but the whole racism thing shouldn't be part of it, and making obscene gestures towards certain fans in their end shouldn't be part of the game. I hope they ban them for as long as possible, life ban. I hope South Yorkshire Police do them for some sort of hate crime violation, and they're punished to the full extent that they can be.
Yeah. Before we get onto the actual action, as always, we're going to hear from our sponsor, Manscaped.
This video is sponsored by Manscaped. Manscaped are the best at below-the-waist grooming. Over 4 million lads and lasses use Manscaped worldwide, including yours truly. Now, Manscaped have given me an early look-see at their latest trimmer, the Lawnmower 4.0, and I tell you what, it is some quality stuff. They've also given me a look-see at the ball deodorant and the ball toner, which you use for your... Use code NYT for 20% off and free shipping at the checkout when you visit manscaped.com. Now, back to your regularly scheduled programme.
So, let's talk about a victory. A 3-1 victory over Cambridge United. Certainly not plain sailing, but we will come through the game, through the goals. Let's start with the initial lineup. It was mostly as expected. Bear in mind there was no Michael Smith. The one man that was missing from the centre of the park, which was a surprise, Danny, was Ollie Rathbone. As it turns out, it's illness, which may or may not keep him out Tuesday. I assumed it was going to be a blow, and in my opinion, it turned out we missed his energy in the midfield for me.
Yeah, I think so. I think Ollie does add that certain whippet energy in midfield, if you like. I noticed there was a lot less running in midfield from the rest of the players. However, in the long run, it sort of proved how good we are depth-wise, because yes, we weren't as intense, but it didn't really matter, if that makes sense. There was a bit less desire to win the ball back in the middle, but you've got a strong back line and a strong front line either side of them. So yeah, it sort of worked itself out. Hopefully he's available for Tuesday. I've just seen the article from Paul Davis saying they are hopeful, but they're not going to put all their eggs in one basket just yet. He hasn't trained at all this week, so whether he trains a bit on Monday, I don't know, but we'll have to wait and see. But you've got Jamie Lindsay chomping at the bit to get back in, so yeah, I'm not worried if Ollie has to miss Tuesday, because someone like Jamie Lindsay might actually do a number on the Ipswich midfield. You know what he's like, being the terrier that he is, and he likes to bite ankles and all sorts, as Paul once says. So yeah, good for Ollie, but you never know. This little rest out might just recharge his batteries back up to 100% if he's been not running at 100% at all. But yeah, all the best to Ollie from me and everybody else.
Yeah, definitely. I'll come on to the other midfield selection in a minute, who came in for him, because that's a big conversation. But defensively, make back three, Reg, Woody and Harding. I mean, at the start of the season, if you'd have told me that Icky wouldn't be a first-choice starter at some point this season, I would have been very, very shocked.
Yeah.
But to be fair, the back three were, for the most part, very, very good again.
Yeah, absolutely. They're solid as a rock, aren't they? You know, it picks itself at the moment. You know, there's not one of them at all that's done anything realistically that would warrant even considering dropping them. You know, occasionally Wes Harding has a little bit of a brain fart every now and again, but you know, he is playing completely out of position. He's playing, not only is he out of position, he's on the wrong side of the pitch as well. But you wouldn't know that for the bulk of the time. So no, I thought defensively we were pretty well. What's the word? Expectedly strong. You know what I mean? Just yeah. I'm not. I struggle a little bit with their centre forward Ironside. I know his granddad's an ex-Miller, but
big and awkward.
He's big, awkward, and he tried his hardest to deck Woody every single time and failed. But that seemed to be his only sort of the only thing he had, really. You know, he didn't really threaten anything else, or we didn't allow him to. Our back three didn't allow him to, whichever it is. I don't know, but yeah, pretty impressive at back again.
Yeah, well, I thought up until the goal, Danny, I thought after the goal we struggled, but it was just something missing. I think it probably was the energy of Rathbone. It was a little bit disjointed. It was a little bit just not at the levels it has been. We'd not played for 2 weeks, and I suppose that's part of it as well, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so. I think even though the international break did give us a chance just to recharge and go again, like I say, it sort of was an unnecessary stop in our momentum, if you like. And thankfully, it hasn't proved a dead-end stop in our momentum because we've kept it going. But yeah, like you say, I think before the goal, it was more or less even. You know, Cambridge had a few chances going forward, and so did we, but there was nothing real clear cut apart from Ferguson's header that was cleared off the line. Yeah, it was even, like I say, but we can't really take away from Wales' finish, can we? I mean, absolute sweet as a nut strike that was, and it sort of set the momentum for the rest of the half.
Yeah, in games like this, Mick, particularly against a team like Cambridge, where a point would be a decent result for them, the first goal is absolutely vital. We've seen it in the past. We've conceded it early, and it's been a tough ask. The first goal on Saturday, it did open them up a bit, to be fair. And Cambridge all the waste of time. They weren't Wickham style, delay the game, stop the game, but they did do that a little bit, and that goal stopped them for me doing it a bit further as well.
Yeah, it did. They were starting to sort of slow things down a little bit, just slow time and what have you. But I mean, let's get cards on the table here. They are a good side. They are. Yeah. They gave us a proper game, probably as much as anybody has done at our place this season. To be fair, you know, they were excellent. So yeah, the first goal is important, obviously, in any game, and you always felt that we were the ones that were going to get it, but they caused us some problems, like you said. They created some opportunities for themselves, and possibly on another day or with a better front line, they may have taken some of them. But you know, the name of the game is taking those chances, isn't it? And like Danny said, that finish of Ben Wiles, wow, absolute sweet as a nut.
Yeah. It was because of the Sadler, which again we'll come on to. He was asked to play a bit deeper, Danny, which I don't think suited Wiles, to be fair. I do think it stifled him a bit. But at the same time, he still found himself in an advanced position, and that composure it's getting better and better with age, as you'd expect.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, our normal way of playing when Rathbone's on the pitch is to have Barlaser in a slightly deep position, and then both Wiles and Rathbone a bit further forward in line with the wingers. but it sort of shifted back so Sadler could play as the attacking midfielder, which suits Sadler more, especially when you've got Ogbene on the wing. Like, no disrespect to Sadler, but Chio is the more natural winger, and Sadler is the more natural attacking midfielder, which is where he played at Donny and scored a few. So yeah, like I say, Wales playing a little bit deeper doesn't quite suit him, which might be why he lost the ball a bit more against Cambridge and wasn't quite as fluid with his passing, shall we say. But I think it's just more Ben Wales being more in tune with the advanced position, which allowed him to drift into the penalty area and then pick up the loose ball and then just fire it into their goal. So it's one of them where it's like, yeah, it was in a more further back position, but because he's played further forward so much this season, he still drifted there, and that gave him a chance to get his goal. So it's 50-50 for me with that one. Pros and cons. That's what I'll say.
Yeah.
Pros and cons.
Yeah, it's your 6th goal of the season. What's that? The 11th goal for the club in total. So obviously that's his best goal scoring season he's had for us. Yeah, he did okay. Wales, he likes to Danny. There's pros and cons to his game, but I think that's because of the position he was in. The second goal came just before half time, Mick. Dan Barlaser with a penalty, backup penalty duty. Interesting to see him back up penalty duty when Sadler's on the pitch, but so is it. So it is. Let's get before we talk about Freddie's goal later on. Let's heap some praise on Freddie before Freddie won the penalty. He did very, very well to win the penalty, and Freddie was a thorn. It was a proper thorn in their side all afternoon. His work rate's gone up tenfold. His commitment to the team's gone up tenfold. His selflessness has gone up tenfold, Mick. He's ticking all these right boxes we want him to.
I've got nothing else to add to that, mate. I mean, he was excellent. He got man of the match. He got his man of the match, fully deserved. Even if he'd not got the goal, he would probably have been man of the match for me. Possibly some of that is kind of based on sentiment because his game has improved so much since he's come back into the team, into the first team. Absolutely outstanding from Freddie yesterday, and you feel as though he's got more. He has got more. You know, he could up his work rate even further. He could create himself far more opportunities because he's got that in his locker. He's clearly got that in his locker. But yeah, you can't drop him. He's not going anywhere now, is he? At the moment, not at all. And it's fantastic to see. It really is. He looks happy, doesn't he? You know what I mean? He just looks happy, and you question, you know, whether he's felt that happy at the previous clubs that he's been at, or whether he's gone through the motions or whatever, and maybe he's come here with the same sort of attitude of, well, it's a job, you know what I mean? I'll go, I'll score some goals or whatever. But all of a sudden, I don't know, there's just something about him. He just seems to be more content in himself and happier and cheerier and everything else when he's on pitch. Not as serious, you know, and his game reflects that.
Oh, it definitely does. It's now got. We can hark back to. We're going to make ourselves look quite good here. We said when Freddie gets a goal, he goes on a run. Since that goal against MK Dons, he's got 5 in 5, excluding the Pizza Trophy. There you go. This is, you know, strikers are all about confidence, all about being happy. That's a nail head for me, mate. You've got to keep these people happy. Greer's another one. Keep them happy, keep them comfortable. And his all-round game, I couldn't agree more. Take away his goal, Danny, and he still had an important role to play in the team, obviously winning the penalty. Yeah,
100%. And I think we have to come clean. We've been using a crystal ball and we've predicted that Freddie would do well. But yeah, like you say, his game against Cambridge was borderline faultless. His hold-up play was a lot better. His running just to chase after the ball was a lot better. Like we've seen him in certain circumstances where the ball's gone forward and he's just sort of trotted after it. But against Cambridge, we didn't see. Well, we saw very, very little of that. And like you say, with the penalty, that came from him chasing after the ball. It was a loose ball, and he's gone, I can get that, and he's gone after it. And I think it was more of a tangle of legs rather than an actual foul. I think the one on Chio was more of a quote-unquote foul.
Yes.
Even though on the replay it looks a little bit outside the box, but anyway, it wasn't given. But yeah, Freddie won the penalty from doing something that he's not renowned for, which is going after the ball and putting in a shift and just not chasing the game, but chasing the opportunity to score. Which, like we said, when he gets one goal, he gets a hatful, and he's now in that mindset of I can score. I've broken the duck. I can go on and keep scoring, which he has done. And yeah, fair play to him. He was the best player on the pitch in terms of trying to create chances and pushing that back line of Cambridge further and further back. Yeah, fair play to him. And it's nice to see him smile that brightly as well. Like when he scored, everyone's round him and he smiles so brightly. It's just great to see. And before we talk about his goal, the celebration was incredible. Like it's slightly taking the mick out of Chio's celebration that he did for but it's still funny.
Yeah, it is.
And I saw a few fans doing the salute back. So I don't know, that might become a thing whenever Freddie scores, he salutes and we all salute him back. That would be hilarious to see. But yeah, fair play to Freddie and keep it up.
And crucially, Matt, as well. Sorry, something you alluded to earlier on. He's starting to bring other players into the game. You know, previously he might hold the ball up, but he'd keep hold of the ball far too long. Too many touches, try and turn into trouble or whatever. But certainly on Saturday, he was knocking it back, bringing players into play, and just everything that you want. Everything that you want. It was an excellent performance from Freddie. Probably his best in a Rotherham shirt for me.
Yeah. Oh, well, that's a big shout after his Sunderland performance, to be fair.
Well, yeah, fair comment, yeah. But
I also think this is different. You know, last season in the Championship where he scored a couple of goals, and last time in League One, when he got on those run of goals, you just felt like he was going to score, but he didn't give this much to the team. Not in a million years did he give this much to the team. There's definitely a difference to him. And I may or may not be wrong, but it's coincided with Will Grigg coming to the club. Now, whether that's Freddie's realised, you know what, I'm not going to be number one here. I've got to work hard, or whether he's just learning. We're all learning in day-to-day life. Freddie's clearly the same. A seasoned professional, one of the best strikers at this level ever, has come in and is learning from what Will Grigg's doing. Either one of those two things is a bit of a masterstroke from Paul Warne. Whichever one it would turn out to be, Paul Warne has, for me, fostered that environment.
And it's a credit to Freddie as well. It's not he's not a young lad. It's not as though he's an 18-year-old kid. He's been around a while. You know, he's an experienced footballer. But if he's still got that attitude where he feels able to learn off his peers, off somebody else who's been there and seen it and done it, and pick up, something new and a new approach to his game, then that's even more kudos to him. Really, it's brilliant. Love it.
Yeah, it were. Dan Barlaser got the penalties goal, as we've mentioned, Danny. That boy just pinging back passes left, right, and centre. It's got to the point where, the point yesterday where he put this stunning crossfield ball, and everybody just sort of sat and watched it because that's what we expect from him now. You just come to expect this brilliance from him. He's just going up a level every week for me. Yeah,
definitely. I saw an article today. I don't quite know which newspaper it was in, but it was talking about his career journey through Newcastle's academy and having loans at Crewe and Accrington and then us. And even that described him as he sort of settled and started coming on leaps and bounds whilst he's been with us. I think that time at Newcastle where Steve Bruce basically said, I don't think you'll get into the side, but we can see how good you are, which is probably why they've got such a massive sell-on clause with him, even though they don't need the money now. So we can write that off, can't we, Yals? But whilst he's been with us, the direction he's taken has just been straight upwards. He's improved so much. Even in the Championship, he wasn't quite up to his usual standards, but it's a division higher. But now he's dropped back into League One. You can see how well it's done him. And like you say, he's pinging balls left, right, and centre. Like he can hit a ball 50 yards, and I can't even kick one 5 yards without it changing direction. I don't know how he manages it. And even with the penalty, I think that's why he was on penalties, because he has that ability just to ping a ball. He can ping the ball into the net from the penalty spot just as easily. I mean, after watching the replay, he's hit it with some speed. He's done the keeper, sent him the wrong way, and the ball's nearly gone through the net. It's so hard. So yeah, I mean, fair play to Barlaser. He has well and truly earned the title of the Jordan Pirlo.
Yeah. And you're saying all this, and to be fair, yesterday probably by his high standards, he didn't have that good a game. He were all right, you know. By everybody else's standards, he were exceptional. But by the standard that Dan Barlaser has set over the past few weeks, over this season, you know, his game were bang average, really. If that makes sense.
But that's some ability to have a bang average game but still look exceptional, isn't it?
Yeah, well, exactly, yeah. And like Matt says, you know, he's playing those crossfield balls, and like 3 or 4 weeks ago, they were getting gasps of, whoa, look at that. No, it's just nobody even cares. It's like, where's going to do it again?
Yeah. He was also playing a slightly different role for me. I think I mentioned it to you yesterday while we were watching it, mate. He was picking up a lot of that work from Rathbone, the energy. Yeah. It was trying to break up a lot of the game, which doesn't really suit him. He did it okay. I think that took away from his other side of the game a little bit. But yeah, it was very, 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 very good. Adrex mentions on Freddie, realizes that Paul Wondy isn't going to give him the spot just because he was a big sign when he came a couple of years ago, possibly. Let us talk about the goal for Cambridge first of all before we move on to some other stuff. Adrex says once again Harding let us score get away from him instead of follow him. Doesn't seem to read the situation sometimes. Can be very upset. It's not the first time.
I think that's harsh. I think that's harsh.
Yeah.
And the reason I think it's harsh, I think Houlihan, whatever it is, he was exceptional. You can see what a player he was, and that set up from him for that goal. I don't think anybody saw that coming apart from even lad who made the run. Probably surprised he ended up at his feet. That was an excellent goal, a really, really well worked goal, and I think to blame the defence for that goal is probably a bit harsh, but yeah, I'm sure Warney will be looking to work on that sort of thing. But yeah, harsh. Soz, mate. Yeah. That's my view.
Like Mick says, Danny, Harding just not seen it coming, and sometimes it's okay not to see it coming. Sometimes they just do something that's better than you. For me, I agree with that. That's just one of those times.
Yeah, I think so. I think Harding has shielded him well, but it's just as he's come inside and then done the back heel. I mean, you could even say with Woody should be picking up the guy making the run, but because it's something that we didn't expect, which, you know, fair play to Cambridge on creating something like that, and fair play to Houlihan for having the mindset just to go, just back heel it and playing Smith. So fair play to him. I will say the build-up was better than the actual goal because if you watch, he slips as he hits it. So it's like, all right, you're a little bit fortunate that you've slipped and hit it. It's like the exact opposite of what John Terry did all them years ago in the Champions League final. He slipped and it's actually worked out for him. But the build-up play was fantastic from Cambridge, and hands down, probably their best move of the game, and it's led to a goal. So I can't really argue with that. Fair play to him.
Yeah, William Roberts says that he thinks Wes Houlihan is the best we've seen at New York this season, and that's not a shout, to be fair. I think Callum Morton's individual performance was up there, different roles, obviously, but they're the two sort of standouts so far from.
Not in a Rotherham shirt, I assume he means.
Not in a Rotherham shirt, of course.
No.
Yeah. And then when that goal went in, there was a time, Danny, that up until when we scored, which was 20 minutes later or whatever it were, almost half an hour later. There were times in that game where we were struggling. We couldn't get hold of the ball. We couldn't get out. There were times when I was sat watching it, and I'm sort of forgetting that we're winning because we're under that. You know, we're just not playing well enough. But we came out of it. You know what I mean? The positives, we came out of that. We were under pressure, under the cosh, but we came out in a positive way.
Yeah, I think it was just the whole thing of Cambridge. Like, we've got one, we can get another one. You know, and get a result out of this. And I think it was perseverance on our half just to ride it out really, and just keep the ball away. You know, it's like there was one time where we're bouncing about around the penalty box, and I think every fan was gripping the seat a little bit harder because it's like, get the thing away. You know, route one, get it as far away as possible. And like you say, we couldn't get hold of the ball. It just kept coming in. And, fair play to the defence and to Vickers for keeping the thing out. We were a little bit fortunate at times with how the ball fell. But I've seen a couple of things on Twitter. Like I saw this one guy say that he made a rather loud comment towards Paul Warne. And it obviously instilled a bit of, venom into Paul Warne because he started getting the crowd going where he was. I saw Tony Stewart start to try and get the fans going as well, and it just sort of gave the players that little uplift of, we can get through this. We're still 2-1 in front. We've ridden it. We can get through it. And I think Freddie's goal came at the right time because I think that killed off Cambridge's momentum, if you like. And then the game swung again in our favour. But even when we were under the cosh, we were still dangerous. There were still times where the ball fell just right and we counter-attacked. And, not watching it at the time, watching it on the replay, it's what my mum said to me. She said, the commentators got it wrong. He was saying Rotherham are a bit on the back foot here, and bang, we've just had an opportunity at goal. Sadly, breaking forward, and keeper were very unfortunate with the deflection because it sort of took the sting out of the ball. So, yeah, we were under the cosh at one point. Cambridge looking for their second goal, but we still showed our perseverance and persistence about having chances at goal, and it bore fruit and Freddie scored.
It's the first time, excluding the Charlton game, which I think was an exception because their new manager bounced. I think that's a different situation. This first game was the Fleetwood game that we came under a sustained pressure in the game, and the two responses couldn't have been more different. The Fleetwood game, the players folded. 14 games later, 15 games, whatever it is, this team looks a different. Their character and the way they're set up, they've clearly matured in that period of time. And hats off to all of them in the management team.
Yeah, I mean, you just took the words right out of my mouth, actually. It's exactly what I was going to say, virtually word perfect. It is the first time since that game, like I said, with the exception of Charlton, that we've been under Kosh. They are Cambridge, and all credit to them, are the first team that have been able to do that. And I'll be honest, it's because of the way that they played rather than the way that we were playing, I think, possibly. Or certainly that was a big contributing factor to it. They're a good side, and whilst it would have been harsh on us for them to get another one and get an equaliser, that player probably deserved it. Certainly for that first 20 minutes of the second half, they bossed the game, and nobody else has done that against us. Certainly not at New York since, like you said, since that Fleetwood game when we just threw towel in. So yeah, it's good that we can do that though, and this is the sort of thing that promotion chasing sides and promotion winning sides do. It wasn't a case of winning ugly, was it really? But it was a case of digging in and making sure that you
something.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, impressive again.
Yeah. Again. Let's talk about a negative. One of the few negatives I have from the actual pitch performances. Me and Mick talked about this a lot yesterday at the game. Keenan Sadler, Danny. I thought he gave us basically nothing defensively. He was constantly not following his man. When he had the ball, he looked okay. But when he didn't have the ball in an attacking sense, he might as well not have been there. He wasn't hiding behind players. He wasn't moving away from behind players and things such as that. We lost energy, and that caused Ben Wiles to have not as good a game for me, and it caused Barlaser to have to do a different job, which took him away from his role. I found it really frustrating watching Sadler. I thought it was a big chance for him. I don't think he's done himself any favours.
I mean, yeah, with Sadler, especially in defensive situations, yeah, I agree completely. He seemed to sort of forget his man and sort of just fall back onto the default attacking midfielder of I'll just be not waiting for the ball, but in a more advanced position, ready for when we eventually deal with it, sort of thing. It was definitely better going forwards, for sure. Like I said just before, he had that really good chance, and it was unfortunate. It took the deflection and took the sting out of the ball. But for me, it boils down to the thing: if he gets a chance, but then he tries too hard to do everything himself, it's like there were times where he's tried to dance through some people and take a shot, and it's not worked. He's took a shot from a silly angle just because he wanted to try and score and show he's got the ability. And that could come down to he's not being played like enough, if you like, and trying too hard just to break into the side. But I think he should take a leaf out of, say, Jamie Lindsay's book or Edekwe's book. You wait until you got your chance, but you keep calm about it and just do what you know and do what you're good at. And if that means, if you look at the situation and go, oh, I could probably do him, but if you know it's going to be a bit more difficult, it's like, oh, I'll play the pass instead, because then you look better for making that decision rather than making the, in hindsight, silly decision. And I think it's not an issue with Sadler, but it's just a downside to it, that he wants to do so well and break into the team so desperately that he trips himself up whilst doing it. He tries to run before he can walk, if you like. It's not taking away his ability as a player, because on his day he is very good, as we've seen. Yeah. But when he gets like the opportunity to play where he wants to play, he tries too hard and then just falls over himself, per se. That makes sense. That makes sense?
Yeah, it does.
Good.
Yeah.
I'm not talking nonsense. Good.
When we were under the cosh, mate, he needed to come off. I agree with Dan. There was a couple of months in that second half where I think attacking they looked really good. But when we were under the cosh, again, it's not the right phrase. When we were struggling a little bit, it was no good to us. You know what I mean? It wasn't helping us. And Jamie Lindsay, and this maybe cost Jamie Lindsay couldn't do more than 15 minutes. But we needed Jamie Lindsay on probably 15 minutes early, or Adolphe, whoever you want. We needed that change earlier. And it didn't cost us, thankfully. But against a better team with better finishers, that could have cost us a couple of points.
It could have done. And it could have done. And I don't think that would necessarily have been Keenan Sadler's fault. Just the formation.
The substitution should have come sooner.
Yeah, absolutely. The problem with playing Keenan Sadler there, which is his natural position, I accept, is that then you've got to drag Ben Wiles back into a deeper position, and that is not his position, if that makes sense. Yeah. So it kind of upsets the balance of the team. For me, with Keenan Sadler, there are some parallels to Freddie of old. Freddie was always trying to score. That's all he ever had in his mind, because I think he felt that while he was scoring goals, he was doing the job that the team needed from him. And clearly, he's proved over the last few games that that's not what his game is all about, and he seems to have embraced that and improved massively. Sadler just seems to want. He's like a puppy that wants to impress. You know what I mean? And it's just not coming off. Some of the shots, a couple of shots yesterday were absolute bullets, and he was unlucky not to score from them, particularly in the first half. But then there's better options. You know, Ben talks about this.
Couple of second half. Them second half ones were just so frustrating.
Yeah.
A couple of ones that went miles over, and that. Were it Cross as well that went out for a throw-in almost?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. I mean, Ben's talked about this before, hasn't he? About the fact that there's better options open to him as he tries to go for this 35-yard screamer. I don't know. It seems to me to be a bit of a mindset thing for Sadler. And I guess he's in the right place with the management team to work on that, isn't he? Hopefully. But yeah, you're right. It massively improved the performance when he went off. But I think that was more down to the change of pegs in holes rather than the actual pegs themselves, if that makes sense.
Well, the thing is, Ben Wiles is better than him in that position.
Yeah.
And that's sadly his problem. Chio's better than him in that position. Ben Wiles is better in that position. Mikel Miller and Shane Ferguson are better at left-hand side. He don't fit, does he? I imagine it's frustrating for him. I get that.
Got to be.
But we've got to look after number one, and that number one's the team. And I don't think it helped us yesterday, unfortunately. A couple more substitutes to talk about. We'll talk about Ipswich game in a bit. In a minute, we've got to ask somebody coming on in a minute to talk to us through that in a minute. The other two substitutes prior to that were both Mikel Miller came on for Shane Ferguson. Mikel Miller did very well, got another assist for the goal. Will Grigg came off for JJ on 68 minutes, Danny. And whoever he brought off, whether it was Will Grigg or Freddie Ladapo, can feel hard done by because I thought we talked about Freddie. I thought Greg had a good game. I know he didn't score, but I thought he did for the team. I thought he did very well as well.
Yeah, I think so. One of them where you sort of wanted them to stay up, both of them to stay on the pitch and just keep building. Because I think Freddie kept building and got his goal. Could Greg have done the same thing potentially? But yeah, I think the other reason he brought one of them off was because they're probably going to be the one that maybe starts against Ipswich and brings in Smith or something or other. But yeah, I just want to talk about Mikel Miller. I think he's one of the more underrated players at the club because he's got 6 assists in the 12 games he's played. That's perfect for Rotherham. It's a quality assister that's just flown under radar a little bit and no one's really picked up on it. It's like we've got Chio and his pace and his crossing ability, which is getting better. He is getting better. He's got better this season. I think that has been helped with more of a running the island team as well. Mikel Miller is somehow got the ability just to find Freddie in the box. I don't know what it is. It must be like some sort of telepathic thing. Yeah. It's like ball comes to Mikel Miller, he whips the ball in, and Freddie's there and he scores. It happened against MK Dons, and now it's happened against Cambridge. But one thing I will make a comment on is I am willing JJ to score as much as I can, but my God, I honestly, if you watch the replays, you can probably see me out of frustration hitting my seat, like, for God's sake, he's not scored from there. And I'm trying to bring the ball into the net for him, and I thought, this is it, he's got it. Oh, keeper saved it, bang, But like I said, it is coming for JJ. He just needs to keep doing what he's doing, and he will get a goal. And hopefully sooner rather than later. But just keep getting yourself in those positions. I don't think he watches this, but if he is watching it, keep getting yourself in those positions, and you will score at some point. But just be more confident to hit it first time. Don't take a touch, just bang, and it'll probably go in.
Yeah, I felt with stuff. Harley Kelly says that he thought Kato was unlucky not to score yesterday. He did well when he came on. Andy Hunt says he'll be a big player for us, which I agree with. His all-round game, he probably should have scored, but his all-round game was excellent. I thought he did the Michael Smith role very, very well. He was a big target man. He's not really won that many headers when he's come on in previous games. He won most headers on Saturday. I was really impressed with his all-round game, which is as important as scoring goals. I know he's a striker and you want to score goals, but that all-round game is as important because we've got probably Will Greg and Smith who can score goals, but we also need that extra work rate as well, which he does give us.
Yeah, it does. It does. He grafts, doesn't he? He really does put shift in, even if he's only on for 10 minutes. The defenders know that he's been on. And the goals will come. We know the goals will come. So, there's no real need for it to be a massive issue. It'd be nice, even if for him not to score right up until March, and then 89 minutes at Shrewsbury, he can bang a couple in, can't he? just to really cement it or whatever. But he's looking good. He's looking good as JJ, definitely.
Yes, it's exciting, and I think we've talked about this. We've talked about this already, but the fact that we didn't play badly, but we didn't play particularly well, and we've come out with a 3-1 victory against a good team. They're not going to get relegated. I'd be surprised they get relegated this season. They're going to be a solid mid-table team, and solid mid-table teams were our Achilles heel 2 years ago in this league. Solid teams who knew what they were doing and had quality players, like we already mentioned, Hulan. They were really were our Achilles heel. Any issues with any other players? I thought Vickers, Danny had a solid game. He didn't have much to do. You could maybe criticise him for not coming for a couple of crosses in the second half, but that's been ultra critical, maybe.
Yeah, I think so. I think Vickers has come into the side and done very well. As someone who didn't make an appearance whilst being at the club for a year, he's come in and done very, very well. But I think to be ultra critical as well, like people said this about Victor, he does have a mistake in him occasionally. Like you said, not coming for some crosses in a goalkeeper's mind, that would be a mistake because it can lead to a goal. You could say his positioning for their goal as well, but he slipped, so that ball could have gone anywhere. It could have gone into East Stand, but it went into top corner instead. But yeah, he's done very well, and I think he keeps the shirt for Tuesday because I think if we were to put Victor on the pitch for Tuesday, he'd just go up and knock out Gavin Ward after what happened against Barnsley. So keep Victor like pinned to his seat or something. Keep him away from him.
Vickers is going to. I'm telling you now. I put this out on Twitter earlier on. We're going to have no goalkeepers on Tuesday. They're all going to be knocking sick on Monday after the fact when they know who's refereeing that game. So
yeah, bless him. Gavin Ward has reffed on Sunday afternoon, so I don't know if that affects him who he's going to ref on Tuesday. As we mentioned on this last show, Gavin Ward is meant to referee Tuesday's game. We'll go on to that one. The EFL's website it doesn't change the website, but that doesn't necessarily mean he will referee us. When they started choosing it did change a few times last season. So let's all touch wood and pray the Gavin Ward doesn't referee us on Tuesday, but you never know. The referee on Saturday, mate, before we move on, he did not. It wasn't amazing. The amount of times that Gregory and Freddie were ragged all over the shop, and Woody, to be fair, it was just a bit of a joke.
It was one of those referees that who sort of came across as though he was trying to let the game flow and everything else, and then he'd pull it up for something stupid. The shirt pulling that went on, certainly in that first half, for Freddie and one or two others, just went completely unpunished. There was a penalty shout in that first half, and it might have been after about 5 minutes where Freddie's shirt was nearly ripped off his back, and the referee were looking directly at it, and nothing given. And then 2 seconds later, he gives a foul from the corner for somebody climbing. He was very, very inconsistent with the referee, very inconsistent. But whatever. But he's another championship referee, weren't he?
He is.
He's not a League One referee, and all of a sudden you get a championship referee come down, and consistency goes out the window. I might be me. I know I'm a bit of a. I know I'm very critical of these people. I know I am, and I accept that, and I know it's a difficult job, and I'm not going to argue with that. And it's not a job that I would want to do. But if I was going to do it, I'd give the same thing every time, not give it once and then leave it 3 times and then give it again twice. You know what I mean? Yeah. That's what football fans, and I'm sure players, find so frustrating.
I think that's probably the reason we won the penalty, was because we had 2 shouts and he's sort of gone, we'll have to sort of get it third time down. So, probably the less penalty foul of the 3. But can't complain, so we got to,
Yeah.
I can complain, and I will complain. Listen, mate, if you want to sit with me and watch this game on Tuesday night, you're more than welcome. But my wife's already decided she's off out. I can't make Ipswich on a school night, but she's not sitting anywhere near this game with that imbecile referee in it. So.
Final point. Richard Hicks is a nice one. Him and his father took his 2 boys to their first ever Rotherham game on Saturday, and they loved it. He mentioned the team was great. Barlaser, Wiles were immense. He's similar to, I doesn't have confidence, Harding, but with the Mighty Millers. Yeah, I started taking my little girl, 6-year-old girl, and she started singing Rotherham songs around the house. So I could not be more proud of her father. So it's wonderful. Let's move on to Ipswich. Let's talk about Tuesday night. Big game. We have the Gov from Talk of the Town podcast. Thank you for joining us today.
No problem at all. Manscaped, absolutely. You can also use the code TT for 20% off. If I've got a city on my head, I might as well plug it as well. But how are we, fellas? All right.
Tuesday's the Manscaped Derby. There we go.
A Manscaped Derby, yeah. We're playing like dingly dudes, that's for sure.
Yeah, so how we've talked on your podcast pre-season that I was worried about Ipswich, right manager, right recruitment. It's not quite panned out that way, unfortunately, has it?
No, not yet. We say hoping still, despite it being nearly the end of November. It's not gone quite to plan. 19 new signings. We thought, wave of optimism, new ownership. We thought finally we could escape this absolute hellhole known as League One, but it's not to be just yet. Apparently, that's what it's looking like. It is a hard league to get out of, though. Isn't it? It's horrible. It's a horrible league. I'm bored.
We get out of it every time we come in. It's just we can't stay out of it.
I know. It's honestly, everyone thinks to come down here for a little tour, and then you'll go up again, and that'll be it. But once you're down here, Sunderland.
Yeah,
stumbling around trying to find the exit. It's horrible.
Yeah. How has the season been? I know you're sort of struggling mid-table, but has it been a consistently just inconsistent? Is the signs of positive lights?
Well, our only consistency is our inconsistency. We've just gotten beat 2-0 at Sunderland. This is a big game Tuesday night. Come on, joking, but big game Tuesday, and a lot of some of the fans are saying this is a make or break sort of season game, even though it's November. If we get beat, the gap between us and the playoffs currently stands as a hill turns into a mountain, and it becomes maybe a little bit too much to claw back. We got beat by Sunderland. We're now 7 points behind them. That's 3 games. If you lose again and others pick up results, that could be 4, maybe 5 games in some respects. Wickham are 10 points ahead of us, I think. You've got to win. You've got 1 point from 6. Oxford and Sunderland the last 2. This is a big game. I really can't sort of stress that, how the fans, my side, feel. So a huge game Tuesday.
How was the Sunderland game at the weekend? We did got very well against them. 2-0 defeat, but was it a 2-0 performance?
No, it was a lot of huff and puff from our side. For 75 minutes, we've matched them. They've got the goal through to a goalkeeping error. That's football, But what we're finding, we've had 19 new signings. We've brought in Macaulay Bond from QPR on loan, red hot form. Brought in Joe Piggott from AFC Wimbledon, who scored 20 plus goals last year. But Piggott hasn't had a look in, and a lot of fans are getting frustrated now with the lack of flexibility from the management. We're chasing a game. We never see 2 strikers. I mean, it's almost miracle levels when you talk about, can we see 2 strikers on the football field? It's that level of just not going to happen. Really, honestly, we talk about it as if it is a miracle. I'd love to see Piggott and Bond. Oh, but that's not going to happen. It's like, well, is it that extravagant to think of 2 strikers on a pitch? I mean, really? In 2021, crazy, but that's the way it is. So no, we're not good, as you can tell.
That screams at Paul Cook to me. I rate Paul Cook as a manager, to be fair. I do rate him for what he's done in the past, but he seems very inflexible. He seems the type of guy that is sort of, I know what I'm doing, it's my way or no way. And from what you're saying, that sort of stands up for where he is now.
Yeah, when Plan A works, it works really well. Just ask Wickham and Portsmouth. But when it doesn't, and teams match you or answer the questions that you've posed with the 4-2-3-1, it's can you issue a new set to question them, to make them think twice. On Saturday, Lee Johnson, I'm not his biggest fan at Sunderland, but he sprung a little bit of a tactical surprise, I believe, with the lineup. Then he brought on Aidan McGeady, which changed the game. He was always sort of one step ahead of Cook, and we never seem to be the team that's one step ahead of somebody else when it's a tight game. We lost at Plymouth, and many fans on my side would say we should have won that game, but we didn't. We put our main team out in the FA Cup first round against Oldham, drew 1-1. Again, you say that's the players, and then yesterday, again, you say players have got to take responsibility. Eventually, you've got to say, well, who's in charge of this bunch of players? But that's another story.
Yeah.
How are you guys doing? Good season?
Yeah, we're doing right. We're pretty happy at a minute.
We haven't seen you yet in the league table, so you must be doing pretty well, because we've been looking at 4 or 5 teams at a time. We've never seen Rotherham in that 4 or 5 teams. You must be, sort of up there somewhere.
Yeah. We started quite well, which is very, very un-Rotherham-like. We're normally sitting where you're sitting this time of season and have a late charge. So
there is hope.
We're getting a bit giddy.
We've got a bit of a nosebleed.
Well, this is it. Where exactly are you in the time? I mean, honestly, I haven't had the stomach to look above 9th all season, to be honest. It's a struggle at the moment at our end.
Now we're up to 2nd because of Wigan, Oxford being called off at weekend.
That was a funny one.
Up to 2nd, 2 points off top now. Plymouth lost the weekend, didn't they? First time in a long time. It's giddy times, Danny.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's our best start to a season in at least 60 years.
Wow.
So I think last time we started this well was like in the 1950s or so. I can't remember if it was when we won the 3rd Division North, or if it's just before that when we somehow blitzed a division but finished 2nd. I can't quite remember. But it's the best start we've probably had in a lot of fans' lifetimes, which is why there's a certain amount of a buzz going around the club. They put "Pump It Up" on the loudspeakers as the game ended. And it's like,
what's a tune?
You don't do that in November. That's virtually jinxed it now. You know,
It's a great tune.
but it's a great tune. But I don't know, this clash with Ipswich, it's giving me vibes of when we last played you a lot at New York Stadium. How it was like the battle for, like, if Rotherham won, we'd go above Coventry, and Ipswich were knocking about in the playoffs, I think. It's giving me sort of similar vibes to that if Rotherham winning, we go top. You know, we might blow our minds away. But like you say, if Ipswich win, it might be a bit of a turnaround season, turnaround of the season.
Yeah, this is it. And obviously with the Christmas period coming up, you've got a run of games in fairly quick succession. But with the Christmas period, there's always one team that seems to put something together and comes out the other side in a lot better shape. This, as you say, this is a good game that could be a catalyst. But we can trace a lot of our issues, a start of our issues, back to Rotherham. We were under Paul Lambert doing fairly well. And I think it was a Tuesday night that time as well when you came to Portman Road and bullied us, with all due respect, you know. And that's football. You've got to contend with all manners of play, and that was the blueprint. And then Lambert never really recovered, and we just went. Because we were, you know, all HMS Pistol League. We were like you know, you're out here, heady heights, you know, the 17-year-old having Jaeger at 9 o'clock, thinking we're going to see midnight. It just, we were loving life.
Yeah.
And then it just went like that, and that was yourselves. But yeah, so I'm looking forward to the game. Any of you three hopping down? I heard Mick say he wasn't allowed on a school night. I know that feeling.
School night,
Yeah, I'm coming down. I've got my ticket and my COVID passport and everything ready to go.
Yeah, we're one of the few teams that do that, I understand. But yeah, cool. Come and say hello. It's going to be a good game. It really is going to be, you know, two teams that can play decent football. You know, we do play some good stuff. We just don't sort of put it together for 90 minutes at the moment. That's the frustration. Who's the key players from yourselves? If you had to pick one each.
We've got
bring your egos in, lads. Bring your egos in.
Bring his egos in, yeah. Michael Smith back after a ban. So Michael Smith's had nearly a 3-week rest, who's been the most deadly striker in the league. He will be back for Tuesday night. He will bully defenders. If the defenders allow him, he'll bully them. And that's a constant. That should be a concern for you guys. Ben Wiles, central midfielder. He's 22-year-old and he looks somewhat special. A kind of product maker, Mick. It looks.
Have you replaced Matt Crooks? Do you feel like you've replaced him?
Wiles has basically replaced him. We've asked him to play a bit further forward. He's not as physical. He's nowhere near as physical as Crooks, because not many people are.
He's a much better player than Matt Crooks.
Technically,
much better player.
Yeah.
Oh, we'll have him in January then.
Another 400 grand bid coming in.
Yeah. And a pound. Luis Suarez situation. I like the striker you mentioned there. We got a defender, George Edmondson, who many consider a Rolls Royce. That if we don't go some places this year, he certainly will in terms of the championship and beyond. So that could be a good key battle to look forward to for me and you, Danny, as we're going to be there. Yeah. I mean, yourself, Danny. Anyone different to Matt, or is that the key?
I'd say our wingers have come on leaps and bounds this season, because last time we played you lot, we still had O'Benny, but he was very much in his infancy with his Rotherham career, and now he's kicked on and he's virtually a starter for Ireland now. So we've got him on the right, and then we've got Mikel Miller on the left, who's got 6 assists in 12 games. And he somehow magically finds one of our strikers, Freddie Ladipo, like every single time. And he's got 5 in 5 now because he scored against Cambridge. One thing I do hope is that Gavin Ward isn't quite as lenient with our goalkeepers, because the last time we refereed us, our keeper ended up with a broken eye socket. So hopefully he's a bit more. Twice.
No, at time before he had stitches above his eyes. So
time before it was stitches, and then it were a broken eye socket. So
my apologies.
So yeah, hopefully,
I did mention
a bit more competent.
I did hear Mick sort of say some stuff about the referee for this weekend. Your left winger what's the left winger's key? Is it pace? Is it just ability on the ball? Because if it's pace, we're in trouble on the right side.
Yeah, he does have a fair bit of pace about him. He's like he's like Chio. He's got a lot of pace to him, but he has a slightly better crossing ability. I think it's his loan down to League Two that's really helped him out. and he's coming out this season. But we've sort of got two on that side. We've got Mikel Miller and Shane Ferguson. Ferguson's your more experienced winger because he's been at Millwall for donkey's years. And you've got Miller, who's a bit quicker than he is, and then like our trump card, if you like, Taladji Bola, who we've got on from Arsenal. Like he's like more of the Energizer Bunny because he's young and he's quick, but he's just like third choice kind of, you know. It sounds a bit harsh, but yeah.
It's good to have depth, particularly in this division with 46 games, and then that St Johnston's Paint Trophy's not kicking about. You know, are you in that still, or you're out of that now?
Oh, we're still flying high.
We're
Us.
still in that.
In the big one.
I don't know why we bother with the competition at all.
No.
It's horrendous. It's horrendous. It's just more games, isn't it?
Yeah, let's take
unnecessary games.
Absolutely, let's take some of the teams with the smallest squads in modern, English football and make them play 46 games of Carabao Cup and FA Cup. Oh, and then we'll play 3 games as well extra.
Yeah.
So what's you get Gillingham under 18s versus Town under 18s, and you got to pay a tenner for it. I'm like, well,
yeah.
That's normally down the training centre. You know, when you got like Manly's dog watching it. It's mental. But anyway, back to the league game. Looking forward to it. We won't win, but we're looking forward to it.
You talked about Macaulay Bonne playing. Is he a big threat up top? What type of player is he in terms of a striker? And will he play, do you think?
Yeah, well, I think he'll definitely play. It would be a surprise to see Joe Pigott start the game over Bonne. He's our top goal scorer. He's already scored more goals than our top goal scorer did last year, which says how bad things were last year. He's a good, tricky player. Plays off the last shoulder. Likes to rob a goalkeeper's back pocket, as I'm sure you've seen with Sheffield Wednesday, and then Gavin Bajnu at Portsmouth also robbed him of one and scored. So he's just cooled off a little bit at the moment, though, and that's the issue. That's why we've stopped scoring, because Bonne was the guy scoring. Behind him, you've got Bursant Salina, Carl Edwards, Wes Burns, who's been injured, didn't play Saturday. But when they're all ticking, they were cut above anything at this division. The problem is with flair players, they don't always tick the way you want them to. And when they were off it, my God, they're off it. And we're bang average. So it depends on what side of the bed they all wake up on Tuesday morning. To be brutally fair.
And what type of football is it? Are you try to be a possession-based team, or is it a bit? Paul Cook strikes me as a type of player who can do a few different. Can be pass, can go direct. What would you say?
Well, Sunderland called us dirty at the weekend, and I've never heard Ipswich Town be called dirty in my life.
From Sunderland.
I know. Couldn't question it. Wasn't there, but we're a dirty side. Haven't seen a dirty side like us. Some of the comments I read on YouTube were, I know, madness. We're a side that likes to get it into the number 10, play it to his feet, and then he'll distribute it like a point guard, I suppose, out wide, and then you put it back into the box. So a lot of our goals have been sort of Edmondson at centre half into maybe Salina in the 10 role. He'll turn, knock it out to Wes Burns, ball in the box. Macaulay Bonne will score. That's kind of if you could paint it up, that's how we score. The issue's been, as I say, when Salina's not on it. Well, last couple of weeks, and this may be what Paul Warne does at Rotherham, and I don't want to bore you with sort of tactical debate, but if you press the centre halves with your midfield and attack, you force us to go long. Macaulay Bonne can't win anything in the air. You pick up the second ball, you turn, and then you spring your own counter. That's how Oxford and Sunderland both did it, and that's kind of the recipe. Press the centre halves, so they can't play it into midfield. And then you're asking Bonne, who isn't the tallest, to try and win it, and he doesn't.
I like the sound of that.
Yeah, that it's a very simple format. And then when the team does that, teams that haven't done that, like Wickham, Portsmouth, we've battered. When teams have done that, we've struggled, and that's where the fans' frustration comes from. Yeah, because we're all sitting there saying we've got to change this game, and he just does it like for like, and it's like, well, it's not going to work because they're still going to press the centre halves. And he keeps Bonne on, whereas Pigott's a bit more taller. I mean, honestly, I think I've nearly played as many minutes as Pigott has this year. And I've been sat in the cobble stand for all season, so it says its own story. So I'm looking forward to it.
If there's one thing I can guarantee for you on Tuesday night, and that is that your centre halves will get pressed, and they'll get pressed a lot.
So that's not what I want to hear. That's not what
No,
I
no.
It's not what I've rocked up on a Sunday night for. I've rocked up and tell me you don't press, you don't pass the ball, and you're not very good. I've got to go and get go and freeze my knackers off on a Tuesday night. Miss the bake off or whatever. I know, that's shocking. So you do. A lot of teams do press though, Mick. That's the thing. And you'll know it yourself. You know how you play, and when teams turn up and have the game plan to stop you, that's when you see Paul Warne, I'm sure, change it and win a game. We've not yet seen that from Cook with last year's side or this year's side. That's the big issue. Another issue.
Yeah, this will be interesting. Before we let you go, if we can, like a score prediction from you, if you could, please.
No pressure, but the Cambridge guy got it bang on.
Oh, I won't get it bang on. No. I'm absolutely woeful at predictions. I've got a prediction league, and I'm bottom of my own prediction league. I can't even fix a win. I'm going to say 2-1 Ipswich Town. Why not? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I'm going to be a home bird. 2-1 Town. There we go.
Thank you very much. And if anyone wants to get some, see the more detailed Ipswich Town preview and review after the game, where can they see you guys?
We're it's the home dressing room on YouTube, or just put in Talking Town Ipswich Town, and you'll find us. We're all on YouTube. We do pre-match stuff, post-match stuff. We do 3 or 4 shows during the week, and as I've probably shown you, we just basically banter the shit out of each other and have a laugh. Pretty much that. We don't like low block, high block, expected goals, all that sort of modern stuff. We don't. That's banned. Getting that in the bin. It's shots on target. Have we won? No, it's the manager's fault. Job done.
Yeah.
Like the sound of that.
Fantastic, mate. Well, thank you for doing this, and good luck for the rest of the season. Not Tuesday, obviously, and we'll see you next time.
Andrew, thanks, guys.
See you. Bye.
So there we go. Everything looking good for us.
Yeah.
So what do we think for us? We've gone. We've gone long already. But, we won 3-1. We were allowed to go long, weren't we, guys? What do you think for the setup on Tuesday, Danny? One of the questions I have is Woody. He was stretching himself towards the end of the game. He was stretching his hip or something like that towards the end of the game. If he could come in, do you think there's always a question with Woody if he can play potentially 3 games a week? What can you see many changes for Tuesday from our side?
No, I don't think so. I think, like I say, if Woody doesn't feel up to it or is feeling a bit tight, then Inekwe can come in very easily and play in the middle, which seems to suit him more than playing on either side of that back 3. Potentially Lindsay in for Sadler, bring him back in a little bit.
If Rathbone's not fit.
Yeah, independent, because we'll see how Rathbone is, but he's probably odds on that he's not going to play and not risk him. So Lindsay in for Sadler potentially. Maybe bring Smith in and then keep either Freddie or Grigg as the trump card for later in the game. Potentially Grigg, which is quite harsh on him, but I can see Smith and Freddie potentially doing a number. Both in form. Smith will be eager to get back in the side as well. But yeah, maybe 1 or 2 changes, but I don't think it'll be anything major. It won't be like a major overhaul because of it being a Tuesday, I don't think.
Yeah, for me, it's toss of a coin, mate, for Freddie or Grigg. Smith's got to come back in. And again, I don't think that's harsh on both of them, but Smith's just got to come back in. Who are you taking out, Mick, for who's starting?
I'm keeping Freddie. Freddie don't lose his place under any circumstances at the moment. He scored 5 in 5 and he's put in an absolute shift in game after game. Why would he lose his place? I don't care who's coming back, Will Grigg is not firing yet, which is great from our point of view. We just keep him off Sunderland's radar for a bit longer. He has a lot to do. He does play a really important role for me in that up there, even when he's not scoring. His presence is really, really important, and he contributes a lot to it. But yeah, give him a rest on Tuesday night. Smithy comes back in for me, and Smithy and Freddie up front. And if they've got a problem playing out front back, and yet are still trying to play out front back, then Smithy and Freddie are going to have an absolute birthday. I don't think it'll be like that, by the way. I don't think that'll be the case at all. But you know, if that is how they play and they do struggle that way, then going to be interesting.
Yeah, it is. I agree. Must have some predictions. Harvey Kelwick thinks it's going to be 2-0 to the Millers. I think you're right. Will Roebuck thinks it's going to be a huge game, especially with Plymouth Wickham Wednesday at MK. Wednesday hitting a bit of form. Well, unbeaten in a while anyway. Not many wins in there. Yeah, I agree. I'm going to start us off and go 1-1. It's a big game. I take a point. I will happily take a point. Mick?
Yeah, that's where I was going. That's where I was going 1-1. I'll have it now, and hopefully we can come away without any major injuries. And I say that slightly tongue in cheek, but not completely, based on previous experience. So yeah, I'll take 1-1 and no injuries, please.
Okay. Don't fries with that.
Yeah, please. I always knew you'd progress eventually, Matt.
Danny, you'll be making the long trip down. What are your thoughts on the? Well, give us a prediction.
Well, I'm going to make it the hat trick and say 1-1 as well. It's giving off similar vibes to the Charlton game for me. And with Charlton, I'd have taken 1-1 before we got down there. Same with Ipswich. You know, as long as we don't lose, I'm happy. But it would be better to win. Like Guff said when he was on, he thinks it might be 2-1 to Ipswich. You know, if Bond somehow finds his form, maybe. But I think we've got players potentially coming into the side who like to press, which will probably do us a lot of favours in the long run. But baseline, 1-1 for me. Yeah,
that's fair enough. We didn't really ask him about the COVID protocols. We mentioned it briefly. We didn't ask about how rigorous they are. Apologies, everybody. Good luck, everybody jumping through the COVID rings at Ipswich. Final point to talk about tonight is just Oxford United. We're obviously meant to play Oxford on Saturday coming at Oxford, at Gassam Stadium, whatever it's called nowadays. Their game on Saturday was postponed at 11 o'clock on the day to at Wigan Athletic. And looking at poor Carl Robinson's statements, their main issue was goalkeepers. They basically had no keeper. They were trying to sign an emergency goalkeeper on the morning of the game, and then the game potentially could have gone ahead, but then there were a few more tests positive. It'd be a blow, Mick, if that game got moved. That'd be another 2-week gap between league games. I know we've got the cup games in between there. If Oxford's called off for play Ipswich, then we don't play another League One game, until Gillingham in 2 weeks' time. It'd be so frustrating to see that. And it's a big game. It's an important game, Oxford. But they're finding some form. It's a key game we don't really want moving.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. But, you know, what will be, won't it, as far as this is concerned? It's not really within anybody's control. No. And you can only hope that if they are coming into a bit of form, we can only hope on behalf of Carl that they have to postpone this one as well, and you know it knocks him off the stride a bit, because Carl will be really happy about that, won't he? And if he's happy, I'm happy. Sorry, if he's not happy, I'm happy.
I don't think I read somewhere there was a number of around 7 positive tests. With a couple of their keepers, one of the keepers they were going to play hadn't had his second COVID jab because he wasn't old enough, so he's now got to self-isolate. So it really is a bad situation for them. But we were on the wrong side of it last season, Danny. If we know the EFL, there's half a chance our game will be on next week, and Oxford might be only field a very weak side. We might benefit for once.
Yeah, I said to someone at the game, that game could be like us against Barnsley. Yeah. You know, it's like, can you get 11 out? Yeah, yes, we can. Just right off you go then. So, and Carl Robinson has said that they are hoping to play the Tuesday game, all being well. Yeah, so I personally think Saturday will be on. I'm going to pay my bus fare to get down there. So yeah, I personally think it'll be on, but Oxford maybe a little bit of a walking wounded side with, like I said, maybe an emergency 11 keeper just to get them through the fixtures. But yeah, I personally think it's on.
Yeah, they're similar to us. I think they've got other injuries as well as this COVID. So this is where we are in football. You know what I mean? EFL, I think, will take an even dimmer view this season than last season, to be honest with you. I think they'll be much less forgiving than they were last year. They weren't very forgiving Wales. So that remains to be seen. Hopefully it's on for our sake. We shall wait and see. Then we'll come back on the Thursday episode and we'll know by then. We'll know by the Thursday episode if it's on, I would have thought. We've got an hour and 10 here, boys. Is there anything that you want to touch on? Any performances, anything from the Ipswich game or the Oxford debacle that you think we need to cover or haven't covered?
Nope. Have I mentioned Gavin Ward's refereed on Tuesday?
You have mentioned that once or twice. Yeah.
I'm just getting prepped. I've had a weekend. I managed to forget about it over the weekend, and now back to work tomorrow. So it's not great, is it? Monday morning anyway. But I can sort of temper that with the fact that I'm going to be able to vent my spleen at somebody on Tuesday night.
Yeah, I assume you want to come watch it at my house because your wife won't want to watch it with you.
Well, yeah.
I say keep solid objects away from his hands, Matt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There were two kids upstairs asleep. Maybe it's not such a good dynamic, to be honest with you.
No, maybe not. No.
Safe journey going down there. I imagine there'll be a lot of people watching IFL because it's a long old trip on Tuesday night. But safe journey to everybody going down there. Please bring it back 3 points. That'd be lovely. Thank you, Mick, for today. It's been lovely. And thank you, Danny. As always, it's always a pleasure, mate.
Yep, always.
We're back next week, Thursday, for this one. Please make sure you subscribe on YouTube and iTunes, 5-star rating, all the usual good stuff that you do for us. We are really keeping us forward now, so please get subscribed if you can. And we'll see you Thursday for the next episode. Thank you, guys. Freddie's on one-on-one. Can Freddie finish shoot? Can Freddie go shot? Yeah!